Scharfe Verweisen, Scharfe Verweisen.
What? Yeah. I'm gonna park this over here, so all the remote viewers.
Whatever works for you works for me. I'm here at your service. You're taking pictures. This is being recorded.
Yeah.
Be careful what I say then.
What?
Actually, be careful what I say.
The rest of the time we're not careful.
Nice together. Same thing.
For the night, usually don't fry it. Yes, you know what? This is a big stream. So, Buffy15 at Gimmel. Somebody, can you do that?
What?
Buffy15. Better.
I'll make it simple for you. The top of COL.
For me, that didn't make it simple. Now you complicate it.
You want me to send you a link?
No, it's okay.
Yes.
That's it.
Exchange.
Right.
Ellie Brown. Nice to have you.
I sit here on the block.
Is that good? I got
Let's see.
We don't have any milk, right?
We didn't have to read the look. I just want to show
Well, thank you, Father. Thank you, Father.
Time.
English is okay. It's not subtext the other word. I just want to make one announcement before I start, that there's not going to be any tests. So you don't have to worry about sitting right here up close. Okay? I'm not going to bother anybody. You can, it's like, it gives me sort of a feel. I'm wondering, like, is there something the matter? Someone must have said to me. L'chaim. Golda Meir, the former prime minister, once said, she came into a meeting from the cabinet, not in Yiddish, she said, Herzachainet, listen, I don't have any time, and you don't have any time. Let's start at the end. I want to start at the end. Was ist zu sagen? Bechlal, the very name Gimmel Tammuz, the truth is, everything's in Torah, in not Stam in Torah, in Torah Shebeksav. I mean, everything's not Seres Adibris, everything's in Anechi, but in Torah Shebeksav is already Gimmel Tammuz. Gimmel Tammuz is the day that Yeshua said, Shemesh Begiven Day, and that the sun should stop, and that it should express itself in such a. But we'll come to that. I want it, but defining the day is not an easy thing to do. Yutas Kislev, so there's already 200 years of Farbrengens that define Yutas Kislev in one form or another. And even jumping ahead 160 years to Yud Shvat, when the Friedrich Rebbe was installed, and the Rebbe became a Rebbe, it's a Chweiter, so there's 50 years that, and I have to rely on myself. We don't have to rely on ourselves. We heard from the Rebbe. We heard from the Rabbi. Gimmel Tammuz, at least, is even 30 years later, Gimmel Tammuz is still not absorbable. It's Elamai. I can try and talk around it, and maybe together we'll come to it. Okay, ein Zach, a zweite Zach, and I'm perfectly open to. I'm not from there. I'm a sechakal. I'm not a Rosh Yeshiva. I'm not a Rav. I'm a shliach. And so what I have to say is I can only repeat what I've heard and what I feel, but what you heard and what you feel is probably just as valid. And if you stop and say, wait a second, so it's lav dafka. I don't understand.
People aren't used to hearing such language.
That's why I had to say it. Akopanim, I want to start with a story. In Betzim, it's a story that I normally don't tell over until quite a few lechaims. At least in the unfortunately, or fortunately, whatever, the story has become very nisparsim. I think there are 5 different videos about the story with plays and stuff. Actually, it's a story Shabedidi Hava Uvda, and it took me many years to actually even repeat it. It happened when we first went on Shlichus. The Rebbe sent us then to Amherst, Massachusetts. Amherst, Massachusetts it's like the opposite side of Massachusetts from Boston. It's like Western Massachusetts. And what is Amherst, Massachusetts? It's a college town. It has 3 colleges, university and 2 colleges, and then right next to it, another 2 colleges, 5 colleges. And mer nicht dort. And that's all that there is there, and whatever serves, there's stores for the college. There's the whole Jewish community of Amherst. Okay, what is it? It was professors that used to gather together once a month for a Shabbos in the basement of a cloister from one of the side. But there was a community, and there was a president of the community. No shliach. I don't think I was 23, 24, whatever. But an American boy, and you have to be polite. So basically, one of the first places I went to meet with the president of the Jewish community. And I introduced myself, and we're here, Chabad and this, and I would like your advice. So this is the advice that I got. This is my Baruch Haba to Amherst. Rabbi, I have advice for you. Go back to Brooklyn. That was my welcome to the I didn't take the advice. Not that I did not take the advice, but mamish b'derech nest, literally, miraculously. There's no way to. Within 6 or 7 months, we were able already to buy a Chabad house, literally on the campus. I mean, literally, and it was surrounded by the University of Massachusetts on 3 sides, surrounded by the university, and it's like mamish facing the university. Couldn't have been and still is a better location. Okay, so we have a Chabad house. Now we have to make a Chanukas Habayis. You have to get people to come to the Chanukas Habayis of the Chabad house in Amherst. You should remember in Tov Shel Lamed Daled, the term Chabad house, not pshat Freidner Havdagoyim didn't know. Farbrengen didn't know such a term, a Chabad house. House facing the Chabad. So to announce just that we're opening a Chanukas Habayis for a Chabad house, who's going to come to it? So I decided like this: what we'll do is we'll make a concert. And we'll take a well-known singer. He was well-known then. Today, I don't know if anybody even remembers his name. Theodor Bakel, and he cost a hintay face. But there was like opposite the Chabad house. It's probably a quarter of a mile, but you could see from the Chabad house. You could see they had just built in the university a brand new fine arts center with a big concert hall. We'll make a concert in the concert hall and then we'll make like a parade with the Sefer Torah and with a mitzvah tank to the Chabad house. And the Chabad house we'll set up a art exhibit of Hasidic art. That was the only kind of art I even knew that existed. Upon Hasidic art, I'm sure who's not going to want to see Hasidic art. We'll have the Elim will be there. And Eimer V'Eisa, we signed the contracts. And I started to publicize. And this was our first pool. That was the first big thing that I was doing. So I'm like, stop make a concert and stop make publicity. Nah, it has to be the best. I don't know if you remember those days. Flyers. I'm going to stamp flyers. 4-color. The term doesn't exist even today, but in those days, 4-color printing was like a radio advertising. Television advertising. Okay, it didn't pay because we had public service. We paid. Because the concert was going to be on the campus, in the campus center, or in the campus fine arts center, so we couldn't sell the tickets. The tickets had to be sold through the university ticket office. They gave us like 100 tickets for the donors, but all the tickets, we sent people to go to buy tickets by the university ticket center. The concert was scheduled for the Sunday before Hanukkah. I don't remember what the Hanukkah exactly was, but Sunday before Hanukkah. The Wednesday before, I got a letter from the Rebbe, an English letter, addressed to all the participants of the dedication of the Chabad house in Amherst. I'm saying the Rebbe is sending a letter here to push it to all of the people that are going to come. I printed up 1,000 copies. Push it. The Rebbe sent them a letter. They should have a copy of the letter the Rebbe sent them. 1,000 copies. I picked it up. Friday, Erev Shabbos, an hour or two before Shabbos, I called the university ticket office to find out how many tickets were sold. So the lady says, let me check on the computer. And she comes back and she tells me 87. So, no, I'm talking about the Chabad concert this Sunday. She said, with Theodor Bakel. He said, yeah, that one. 87. I thought, push it, I would die. It was like, it's nothing to do anymore. It's like, it's Shabbos. It's like over. It was, at least until then, mamish the worst Shabbos of my life. It's like, I didn't tell anybody what I have to be mahara somebody else's Shabbos, but I was zebrochen and zeshossen, and it was like kam durchgeschleppt. Shabbos afternoon, after mincha, I went up to the second floor of the Chabad house, where from there you can see the Fine Arts Center. And I'm standing there in front of the window. looking out towards the Chabad Center and saying to myself, Yisrael, that's the Deren, you see there, that's where tomorrow is going to be your Mapola. How is it possible? The Rebbe sent you to make a Kiddush Hashem. It's going to be such a Chil Hashem. The Rebbe sent you to make a Kiddush Lubavitch. It's going to be a Chil Lubavitch. How is it possible a Yilud Isha in 4 months could make such a disaster? It's like, I don't know if I was, the Gashmi was crying, I don't remember, but inside, it was like, and like standing there, I reminded myself of a story that I heard about a chassid of our time, actually Nishta, but like from his name is Reb Mendel Futterfass. Just to give you a Hagdama, this Reb Mendel Futterfass. Mendel Futterfass was one of those that was of the organizers of the escape from Russia, from the Soviet Union after the war. Here you have to say now after the Second World War. Now, Molotosh said the war, but after, when they were successful in getting hundreds of mishpachas to be able to escape from Russia with false passports. Right? He was one of the ma'arginim of that. And at some point, he felt he was suspected that he was being followed and that the KGB was getting onto him. And he thought that maybe he should, with the next train that they were making, that he should leave. On the other hand, he didn't want to because while he's helping other families and he'll leave, the whole thing could. He didn't know what to do. So he went to ask his mother for advice. His mother was a very smart lady, Chassidische, Balas Mesiras Nefesh. And she asked, and she said to him like this, here's a chainet. If you're going to do what's best for you, then there's no question you have to leave. If you're going to do what's best for others, there's no question again, you have to stay. Should you do what's best for you or what's best for others, das kann ich dir nicht sagen. That I can't tell you. That you have to decide. So he went to one of the others, elder chassid, the name of Yanka Maskalnik, who was from the Pnei by the Rebbe Nishmasek, by the previous Rebbe's father. He just began to ask the question, and he heard what he's asking him, and he gave him such a look, like, are you out of your mind? They didn't use those words in Russia, but Al Kapanim, what? And Bemela, there was no question, and he stayed. But he sent his family, his wife, his children, and his mother, he sent on the next train, and he stayed. In Taka, maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, he was arrested, and he was thrown into jail. And they began a period of torture and interrogation, like only they know how to do. And Reb Mendel held himself with eyes in the keches to not give out a name. They weren't just in one thing. Who else is involved? To spread the net further and further. And they knew how to schlep, and they knew how to interrogate, and they knew how to torture, and they knew how to. And he absolutely not a single. The only names he gave were people that died already. But from Lebedik mentioned, Lebedik Yidden, not one. This went on. I don't know whether it was weeks or was Azman Orach B'Yeser. And then finally they saw that they're not going to get anything from him. They told him, okay, case closed, you're going to be sentenced. And they threw him into a cell, a lane. And this was the first time that he was able to sort of let his mind off of what he had to do and think about himself for the first time. And he began to think, and he fell into Amar Shechera, what was going on. Now, to say the words Reb Mendel and Amar Shechera is like so opposites. The pasuk says, Chachmas Adam Toyer Pon. Yeah, no, it says in Torah that a person's chachma you can see on their face. No, it says like that. That's what you can't argue with. I'm not sure I could. The only person I ever saw it on was Reb Mendel. You looked at Reb Mendel and you saw it. You know, at the glance with chachma, with simcha. Again, I was like, he was in Siberia for many years. One time, what did they do in Siberia? In Siberia, what was with the prisoners there? They would, in the wintertime, they would knock down trees, and then they would schlep them on sleighs in the snow till frozen river. On the river is a raft, and they would pile up these logs onto the rafts. And then in the spring, when the ice would melt, they would float the rafts down to the mill. And he was one time, I don't know whether by accident, someone on purpose, whatever, upon him, he was knocked off of the raft onto the ice and through the ice into the water. But Nisim, they were able to schlep him out. Evidently there was a fire there or something to warm him up, and he was, when lacht, he's laughing. That's what he was laughing about. Lacht. He wouldn't say it. He laughed. They thought he was pushing the sugar. Later he said over, why was he laughing? He said, unter Zeyer and Nezer, under their noses, bin ich gegangen in the mikveh. I was able to go to the mikveh right under their noses. That was Reb Mendel. Al Kapanim, and here he's sitting like, it was like, and what was he broken about? What was his family? He wasn't broken about his family. He had no idea if they were successful in getting out of Russia. And his mother at the time, his mother was not well then. And he was pushed. And via Zitzdarten, he reminded himself of something that he had heard from Elter Chassid, that there is this concept, Shiken a Pidyon b'machshava, to send a Pidyon to the Rebbe with your mind, telepathically. That it's something to do it. He said, I'll try. And he begins to think. And imagine, now he's going to the mikveh, and now he's coming back from the mikveh, and now he's taking paper and pen, and he's writing out on what did he ask for already in his preaching? He asked for a bracha for his family. And then he imagines how he's taking it, and he's putting it into, quote, a convert, into an envelope, and he's going to the post office. He's buying a stamp, and he's imagining how he's putting the stamp on and addressing the letter and putting it into the post box. That day, by the way, was Lag B'Omer. He woke up the next morning and he was thinking about what happened the night before, what the spiel was had gemacht, this whole spiel. And he felt, on one hand, a little bit foolish, and on the other hand, he felt better. Like it was. Reb Mendel's family, by that time, they were in England. And the Rebbe, this is the Friedrich Rebbe, this was in Topshin Zion. The Friedrich Rebbe would send letters to his wife, Divrei Bracha, Divrei Idud. One day, she gets a letter, but it's not addressed to her, it's addressed to her husband. And she opens up the letter, and the letter's like this. It begins like this. It's addressed to him. B'mayna al hamivrak, in answer to your telegram. Hine yiratzem Hashem yisbarech with a bracha. So at the beginning, they thought that maybe he was able to get out of prison, and he's already somewhere in Europe, and he sent a telegram to the Rebbe, and inspired that he's still working. Years later, Mendel came out in Tafshin Chavov. In English, 66. I remember when Mendel came the first time, 770. When he came in, he had to hold him from both. He had such a structures. He had to be held on. It was a. It was, but his wife at one point showed him this letter. Maybe you can figure this out. Took a look at the letter. The date of the letter is Yud Tes Iyar Tov Shin Zayin, a day after Lag. Later, if you want, I can show you a copy of the letter. I'm standing there on the second floor of the Chabad house and thinking to myself, "Wollt ich nur gewesen a Chassid? If only I was a Chassid. Because if I was a Chassid, that's what I would do right now. If I was a Chassid, I would send right now a pidyon to the Rebbe, Ratevimir. Rebbe, save me. Rebbe, you sent me to make a Kiddush Hashem. It's going to be a Chilul Hashem. You sent me to make a Kiddush Lubavitch. It's going to be a Chilul Lubavitch. Rebbe, Ratevir. That's what I would have done if I was a Chassid. I hope someday I'll become when I grow up. But while noch nicht angekommen. And by that time I was also not Shabbos. I have to go downstairs. The next day, it didn't really start all that great. The Seder Hayom was that first we were having like a brunch for the people that helped us to get the Balabatim, that helped us to get the Chabad, and then from the brunch to go to the concert. So we came, and the Balabatim came, and the press was there, and everybody except for the caterer. And ich habe gemeint, I like this, Mele, but this is already like Iber the Mos. You can't do this to me. What's happening here? It was like 15 minutes of sheer panic until Baruch Hashem, the caterer person set up in the wrong hall. Okay, so we were able to move everybody over, and good. It was a beautiful brunch. And I got up, and I was talking about Matut, and I'm thinking inside, while they're going to see where it was, what can you do? Finished the brunch, and we're going now to the concert. I can remember Ad Hayom Hazeh exactly the moment that we turned, and I turned around the building onto the plaza where in the distance is the Fine Arts Center. I remember I can picture it like turn, and I give a look towards the Fine Arts Center. There's two long lines of people standing in front of the ticket office to buy tickets. There were over 1,000 people. It was mamish. I learned something about Mistama of New England that you don't buy a ticket on Friday for a concert on Sunday. In Exhibition, it could be a war, an earthquake, a hurricane, and what are you going to do with your ticket? So they wait till Sunday. They buy the ticket Sunday. Anyways, that's one girsa. Another girsa is that somebody said to me, "What's this stuff?" He said, Matzah Shabbos, the Rebbe went into the head of 1,000 people and made them buy tickets. That's all. I don't know how it happened. Ainly Asik in the stars. I just know that there were over 1,000 people by the concert. It was. I cannot describe to you their tainug eliki of giving 1,000 people a letter from the Rebbe addressed to them. It was like the concert and the mitzvah tank and the Chanosa Sefer Torah and it was le'elu. My Baba was there. She'd come from Pittsburgh to be oldest Nickel, making a puller. She came, but she went straight from the concert. She went to New York because that night my sister was getting married in a couple of weeks, and the Seder was in those days that before the Chassan and Kala and the parents, they were grandparents, would go into Yechidus for a bracha before the Chassan. When the Rebbe finished, so my Baba went to go into Yechidus with them. When the Rebbe finished with the bracha, Chassan Kala for this, so my Baba said to the Rebbe, Ich komme erst jetzt von the concert in Amherst. I'm coming now from the concert in Amherst. So the Rebbe sat back, and like his Bechlal by Yechidus. Now I shouldn't say Bechlal because I was only in Yechidus a couple of times, but when I was in Yechidus, and I've heard from others, the Rebbe's face was oyimdik. To walk in, okay, was like the pachad, the aim of a yira. I mean, we learn about it all the time. We're davening and this. That's when you felt what it was. But the Rebbe like sat back and like his face changed. And he started asking my Baba questions. Asked if I made an appeal. Were there politicians there? Was there press there? Were my parents there? And then the Rebbe said, Nu und wie viel Menschen gewesen? How many people were there? So my Rebbe said, Iber Tausend, over 1,000. So the Rebbe said, Iber Tausend, over 1,000? Und Nechten is Yisrael gewesen as zei marashchere. And yesterday Yisrael was so depressed. That's when I learned that what the Rebbe said to a shliach, Ich fahr doch mit euch. I'm going with you was not meant as some kind of militza. I'm going with you. He meant it and means it. Pashat kipshuta. I am going with you. I'm not letting you go by yourself. I'm with you. And that's if somebody wrote a book about the secret of Chabad. It's like a friend of mine who wrote a book, but I didn't read the book because I know what the secret of Chabad is. I have to read this book. You know what the secret of Chabad is? How the shluchim are so matzliach. Var ich var mit mitach. Was actually said to a shlucha who expressed this was a Crown Heights girl who just got married and going on shlichus to what at the time was considered the ends of the earth, Florida. There was nothing in Florida in those days. I mean, Yidden weren't there. I mean, and she was afraid. And the Rebbe said to her, Was hat meire? What are you afraid of? Ich fahr doch mit euch. I'm going to be going with you. You're not going alone. I'm going with you. And he means the takakshute. And that is the secret of Chabad. Ich fahr mit euch. Well, who? With you. Who's you? Shliach. Who's a shliach? A shliach is anybody who does what the Eibishter wants him to do here in Elam Hazah. Zog the Rebbe, ich fahr mit euch. Don't think you're ever on your own. I'm with you. Before Gimmel Tammuz, Allah has kama v'kama, after Gimmel Tammuz, and the Meretz Hashem ad bias Gael, and Meretz Hashem for the rest of the evening, I'll try to explain what I meant. The Chaim. I heard a story just recently that might have happened, obviously, a long time ago. but I heard it with a name. There was a kid in Russia. His name is Nochem. He lost his father at a very young age. And it was just he and his mother. And when he was about 10 or 11 years old, he came to America. They came to America. He was from a Lubavitcher family with the Lubavitcher Stoltz and Akshonis. So even when he came, like his mother, they had their Erim B'chesed called nothing, and he took it upon himself to help his mother. That's the only thing he has to do. I don't even know if he was in any type of formal misgaris, but upon him, one thing was he always drayed sich around 770, and he was friendly with the Bachrim, and they with him, and by him, one thing was dollars. Every time the Rebbe gave dollars, he was there by dollars. Every time the Rebbe gave out a kunters, he was there to get a kunters. Every time Keshel Bracha, he was there to get Keshel Bracha. Every time Lekach, he was there to get Lekach. That was the way he must say there. Yarded, okay? Never. At the age of 17 or 18, he got a job. He became a renovation contractor. No, a renovation contractor. What is it? Mostly, it's not really like office work that you come to work and leave work in a jacket and a tie and a white shirt. But basically, a painter. So it's whatever it is. So he had the garments of a painter, with for flecked and for smutzig. But I mean, honest labor is nothing but. But that was to go to the Rebbe with such kind of clothes. So he didn't go. And months went by. But you would come home late at night from work, and like this, not get there to stop on the way in 770 or just like. But he and a friend of his was getting married in Crown Heights. So he's going to the wedding. So he had to get dressed for the wedding. And in Batachzach, he's already dressed like a man. He should go to dollars. And he went and stood in the line to go to dollars. When he came to the Rebbe gave him the dollar, but the Rebbe didn't let go. And the Rebbe's holding the dollar, and the Rebbe said to him, "Wo bist du? Where are you?" Like he was stunned. He didn't know what to. So the Rebbe said a second time, "Wo bist du?" So it was like, so the masker thought he didn't understand Yiddish. So he said, the Rebbe's asking where you are. So he said, Ich bin da, I'm here. So the Rebbe is saying, Is for was kommst du nicht mehr? So why don't you come? Why aren't you coming? Why did you stop coming? And the Rebbe's holding the dollar. So he said, I looked down, and he said, Weil ich bin allemal schmutzig. Because I'm always dirty. So the Rebbe said, looked in his eyes and he says, Kum wie du bist, aber kum. Come like you are, but come. Don't you worry what you are. Just come. Be'etzem, those words is almost like a defining feature. I'll tell you over a sikha. There's a sikha that the Rebbe said, Yud Shvat Tovshin Yud Dalet. So in English, Yud Dalet 54. Yud Shvat would be either it's already in 55 probably. Whatever. Tovshin Yud Dalet, that definitely is. I say it because you can look it up. In that sikha, in a sikha, in that Farbrengen, the Rebbe asked the following question. The Rebbe said, why is the Ehel not in Eretz Yisrael? Why is the Ehel in Chutz La'aretz and not in Eretz Yisrael? Huh? Yeah, he was talking about the fetus of the Rebbe's Ehel, and then he said, and also none of the Rabbeim are in Eretz Yisrael. All of them are in Chutzlarts. After everything that it says about Kvura in Eretz Yisrael, it actually, in a certain, it could be I'm making a mistake, but but again, it's more about the chesaron of Chutzlarts, it's not good to be buried in the Chutzlarts. Definitely not for Tzaddik and Pashtus. Why none of the Rabbeim are in Eretz Yisrael? Only in all in Chutzlarts. And the Rebbe gave two answers. One answer al pi nigla, and another answer al pi pnimis anyanim. The answer al pi nigla, I'll try not to get too lumdish. I mean, it's not easy for me to be lumdish in the first place, but lachatchit. The Rebbe said there's a halach in Hilchos Tara that if you have a person who's not alive in a house, and this house has many doors, then the halacha is that not only does the house have a din of tumah, tumas eyel, but all of the doorways are also tumah. Even though it's a doorway, it's not the part. Why? Because it could be that they're not allowed. V'hoya, if all of the doorways are sasul, and only one doorway is open, then the halacha is that all of the doorways are tar. And only that doorway that's open has the din of tumah. Why? Because it's a davar barer that they're going to take the person out through that door. But mainly, even before they take him out, already it's considered. It's ever said there's a klal in Torah, meruba mida teva meruba pranius. Union in kedusha has more of a strength and a takifus than an union of hepach kedusha. The Gemara says that the tzaddikim la'asid love, but chiyas hamesim, they're going to get up in Eretz Yisrael. What about the tzaddikim that are not in Eretz Yisrael? Is also the Kadosh Baruch Hu lases mechilas mitachas lakarka. The Yisrael is going to make tunnels under the earth from the place where the tzaddik is to Eretz Yisrael, and the tzaddik is going to go through the tunnels and going to get up in Eretz Yisrael. Heißt es zu sagen that by the place where the tzaddik is be'etzem a Pesach to Eretz Yisrael. Why? Because it's a davar barur that it's going to be, that this is where it's going to go to Eretz Yisrael from. Idach madach, when you're talking about in Hilchos Tara, where you say that it becomes tamei even before it happens, it's already tamei, a keli that's there, and that keli is already tamei before the mace goes out. You only use that keli. Even before it happens. Why? It's already has the cha'achas, all the more so then when you're talking about kedusha, like the kedusha of Eretz Yisrael, that certainly the kedusha of Eretz Yisrael is there now already because it's a davar bar. Ubemela, the eil is in Eretz Yisrael. Akapanim al pinigla. And it's a nice pshat. On a emes pshat. I never said it. Aber b'primis inyanim, why taka? I mean, somebody once came to the Ragachover Gaon, and asked him for a bracha. So he said to him, "What's best by me a bracha shkerev? I'm not a rebbe. What are you asking me for a bracha for?" So he said to him, "Was heißt? Es steht doch, al tiya bracha said, kal beinecha idach kal b'chemer." So he said, "Why do you have to get a bracha for me with a kal b'chemer? Go talk to a kal, get a bracha for me." What do you do? So the Rebbe explained to Primus in Yanim, why taka? So the Rebbe explained, he said, why? The Eil is in Chutz La'aretz, the Eil is in Queens, not in Eretz Yisrael. Today, as in a kurtzit site, so man can unkommen af Eil. Why is it important that in a kurtzit site, in a short time you can come to the Eil? Because etzem yediyah, just knowing that in a short time we could come to the Eil, it's like pas pisali. It's like he already has it. He has the Eil already. In a short time he could be there. Ubemela, that already gives him the kayach to overcome kol petuya hayetzer. Why? The etzem yediyah that he can be in the Eil in a short time. So even before he goes to the Gemara tells the Yitzhahar as a chaynet mentions chayis and Tomer nicht, I'll take you, schlep you to the Eil and shut based on there already you'll be in trouble. That's basically the teichen of the Sikha. And here there's a pasha the klotz kasha that I have. The Rebbe said the Eil zal sein non, the Eil should be near, as in a kurze Zeit, someone can non come in a short time, you can come to the Eil. So, for whom? From Lakewood to the Eil is 2 hours, 2.5 hours. From Stanford, it's less than an hour. From Los Angeles, it's 4 hours. But from Eretz Yisrael, it's 12 hours, 15 hours. And I'm even talking about the $2,000 you have to pay now allowed for the ticket. So it's, and I don't know what it was like in Tafshin Yadalit. That was 3, 2, whatever. But today, Reiv, Minyan, Binyan of Yidden are either in Eretz Yisrael or near Eretz Yisrael. So what's Pshat the Eil is a Chutz La'aretz, Kedei soll sein, non as an kurze Zeit, soll können dort noch ankommen. On the contrary, if the Eil would be in Sfas, it would be a lot closer for most Eden. Begashmis. So what's Pshat, what's the Rebbe saying? Okay, up until now, I was saying the Sikha, and then my Kasha. And right now we're going now into Yisrael Deren territory. This is what I think the Rebbe is saying. In Pashto, there's no other way to say it. Anybody here was in ever? It says, Eretz Yisrael b'voyim ekol ha'aretz. Rashi says it at least 5 or 6 times. I don't know why Rashi has to repeat it so many times. He said it once, you know it, but akapanim, Klor, Eretz Yisrael's geveyim ekol ha'aretz. And anybody that knows anything about topographically, Gveya, Eretz Yisrael, topographically, akapanim begashmis is not geveyim ekol ha'aretz. It's grade. It's Namuch Mikol, the lowest place on earth is in Eretz Yisrael. So what Pshat Chazal say, Eretz Yisrael Gevei Mikol Eretz? Elamai. You have to be brilliant to figure it out. Chazal are not talking about Eretz Yisrael Gashmis is Gevei. Eretz Yisrael Beruchnis is Gevei Mikol Eretz. It's pushed higher Beruchnis than any other place in the world. Why? Because it's Eretz Yisrael. It's Kedusha of Eretz Yisrael. Akseinu Akdesha. But then the same question you can ask. It's weiter. Yeah, we're in Eretz Yisrael. I was in Eretz Yisrael already 50 times. And I can't say that I ever got off a plane, came to Eretz Yisrael. In olden days, you would come down onto the tarmac to the Farbrengen, the benzine. Nowadays, you come off of the airplane into a jetway and very tzniusdik advertisements. The Kedusha of Eretz Yisrael. I mean, I believe it, but don't get me wrong. That's it is. But and even not me. Every single person. A couple of weeks ago, standing were standing, not just in Eretz Yisrael. They were standing in Yerushalayim, and not just in Yerushalayim. We're standing in Nir Atika, and not only in Nir Atika, we're standing liyad Srid Beis Mikdashenu. And what did they say? What says Galinu Me'artzenu? You're standing in Artzenu. You can't get any closer than this. And they say every single one. I imagine every single one of them said. I hope there's not a sheet now that says you don't say it. Everybody says it. Galinu Me'artzenu. And you're standing there. For us, because they know, we know, all of us know. In Eretz Yisrael, this is not Eretz Yisrael. Eretz Yisrael is a heilig art, and if it's Atzeinu Akdesh, not it's going to someday be Atzeinu Akdesh. It's now Eretz Hashem Lakachabah Meireshis Hashana VeAdachas Hashana. It's the holiest place in Elam Hazeh. But who feels that holiness? Who gets to Eretz Yisrael? Tzaddik, Adam Ruchni, not by the dress, but by the neshama. A heilig Yid. A heilig Yid, a holy Jew, that person is in Eretz Yisrael, he feels Eretz Yisrael. The Avira Eretz Yisrael is take machkim. It makes him take I'm not going to get into whether you should go to yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael or not, but that's nicht in dem geht es. It's not getting there, and that Eretz Yisrael is. How do you get there? To get there takes time. We were talking earlier. When I was in yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael, there's a yeshiva, and there was like a Balchuva yeshiva. But at the time, their yeshiva was, he's Takat Tzadik. There's Takat Tzadik, his name was Rav Gafni. So it's eingesund. Now he's a muflik. This Rav Gafni used to go every year for a month into Miluim. It was like so hard to understand how he would be in the army. But with the vial, they had to have somebody to give the shir. So the shir chassidus they asked me to give. I don't say not because I was such a lamdin, but probably because I spoke English. Anyways, my English was good. But I had time to prepare. They gave me, I had off from say the Nikla to be able to learn an hour to prepare for the shir. And they were learning a Maimer and Lekutei Torah. And this Maimer and Lekutei Torah, the Alter Rebbe writes there, the Alter Rebbe writes like this: the person has the Keichas HaNefesh. Keichas HaNefesh, the powers, the attributes that the Nefesh has, are enclosed in the Guf. Each Keich in its own place. The Keich HaSeichel in the Meach, in the brain. Keich HaRiyah in the eyes. Keich HaShmiyah in the ears. Keich HaMishish in the hand. Then Rebbe said there's another Keich, a higher Keich. It's called Keich HaRotz. Will. The Alter Rebbe says Keich HaRotzen. Keich HaRotzen is B'chol HaGuf B'Shaveh. It's in the whole body equally. It's not in one particular place. This Keich is in the whole body equally. And then the Alter Rebbe gives a raya. How do we know that? How do we see it? Because berega shereitze lenaneya es yadei, the moment a person wants to move his hand, miyad benaneya, immediately it moves. The charaya, it's everywhere. I learned this maimer. I mean, learned this musik. It's brought on in a lot of places. It's not, and I learned. It wasn't the first time I learned it, but it's the first time I'm going to have to teach it to college kids that didn't learn in Timchet Maimer. And they went to English, and they went to high school, they went to college. And I knew that they're going to have a Pasha Teshayla. I'm going to get this question. What's the question? Maybe that's what the Maimer says, but in biology or physiology, it's nicht Punkt, I say. It doesn't happen immediately. When you put your finger on a hot stove, what happens? Immediately your finger sends an email to your brain. Oy, seheis. What happens then? Your brain sends an email back to your finger. To move, and you move. So it's not true. It happens pretty quickly, but it's not immediately. There's at least 2 emails. So just chat. So I learned this. So why didn't I have this kasha? I didn't have the kasha for a simple reason. There was like there were 2 elder chassidim, Pashta Yidden. Pashta Yidden. I don't want to even tell what they did because then somebody will figure out who they were. And they both were on pension. They were retired. What does a chassid do when he's retired? What does he do? So he sits and learns. So they used to come to 770 together, and they would learn the whole day. You learn the Lekutei Torah. Also, Nabacher overheard the following conversation. The Rebbe writes there that Reiv Kader Haaretz Mayim, most of the globe is water. So one says to you, what pshat? Reiv Kader Haaretz Mayim, most of the world is water. We've been in Tashkent, and in Samarkand, and in Leningrad, in New York. There's water. Reiv Kader Haaretz Mayim, most of the world is water. What does that mean? The other one looks and says, when we went in Ireland, that was an island, and I was in Cleveland by the kinder, in the country, it's Davasa. A brave Kadar, it's most of the world is Mayim. What does the Rebbe say? And once it said, no, Das heißt, man darf haben Emunah in the Werte von der Rabbi. This is what it means, and it says you have to have Emunah in the Rebbe's Werte. The Rebbe says, Rev Kadar Artzmayim, Rev Kadar Artzmayim, weitergefahren. And that's exactly how I learned also. That's what the Rebbe said it is. That's the way it is. I can't tell them that because it says in Kuter, that's the way it is. They want to know, read this. I went to his uncle, his grandfather, who was the mashgiach in Chassidus. And I asked, what does that mean? So he looks at me and he says, Yisrael, did you ever go to a chasana? Gehst du mal auf a chasana? I said, yeah. Well, like, where are you going with this? So he says, du siehst wie die Chavre, like the Bachim, in the middle, and they dance, and there's the Bachim in the middle, they make these dances, they spring with the hand, with the fist, and that. I say, yeah. Du tust dich, you also do that? So I said, no. So was nicht. Why not? I said, well, what do you mean, why not? I don't know how to. Well, what exactly are you saying here? What? So he says, was means to, was kennen sie? What do you think? How do they know they were born like that? No. They stand in the dormitory room in front of a mirror hours, and they practice how to dance. And then when they come to the chassan, but it takes time. Why does it take time? Because dancing is a chokhmah. And a chokhmah and a foot don't have a connection. Chokhmah is in your brain, not in your feet. You want to get chokhmah from your brain into your feet, it takes a lot of time. Why? Because you have to change it. You have to change the nature of your foot to walk like a schlump, to tanz as a springer. It's a shinui. And a shinui gedauert Zeit. A shinui takes time because it becomes something different. You want to be a painter, an artist. Take a brush and make a painting. You make a pachkara. You're not going to make a painting. Why not? Because a painting art is a regesh. It's a feeling. Regesh is in the lev, not in your fingers. You want to move the regesh from your heart into your fingers. You have to change it to be able to learn how to do it. To bring the regesh into your fingers. Ratzin, you don't have to have any change. Ratzin, want miyad shereitze menaneh. The moment he wants, he does. The Ratzin goes straight, it does it. In other words, it's not, nothing needs to change. 6 emails, 12 emails, 2 minutes. There's nothing. There's no change here. When the Rebbe writes miyad, he's not pointing at a watch, at how many seconds or milliseconds. That miyad means no changes. And dachzach, that's what pshat in the Sikha. And the Rebbe says the Eyel is in Chutzlarts, not in Eretz Yisrael. Kedei der Eyel zal sein, none says the Eyel should be close. What the Rebbe is saying is, what pshat close? The Rebbe is not talking close. And a kurze Zeit means how many hours, or even how many days, or even how many months. In a kurze Zeit means nothing has to change. Kum wie du bist, abi kum. My shita is, my feeling is, my love is, I want you, however you are, come. Wie du bist, hab ich dir lieb. In a kurze Zeit kannst du ankommen. You don't have to wait to become somebody goes to Eretz Yisrael. That's Eretz Yisrael, that was der fehlt und der Herd, the Kedusha of Eretz Yisrael, which is Adam Ruchni, Adam Kodesh could do that. How long does that take? That takes a long time. You can't wake up one morning and decide I'm going to hide again. It's just nothing. I mean, unfortunately, people do that on a regular basis, but they need therapy. It's not nothing to do with reality. Avanemes to become a chassid, to become it's a veda gedela b'yeser. Why? Because it's change, and change takes time. That's the definition of change. It's time. Shino and shana is the same word. The Eyal is in Chutzlaretz. Where's Chutzlaretz? That's where we are. We're in Golis. And that's what the Rebbe says. I'm not going away to a place in Elamis El Yenim that where to get there, you have to be, no. I'm staying here with you. I'm staying here. Okay, kurze Zeit doesn't mean instantly. Kurze Zeit means mental. Give us a trace of it. Tshuva can turn tshuva b'shah achas. One shah. What tshuva b'shah achas? 1 hour. It takes actually an hour. Shah also melashon drei. Boom. Aber give the drei and come. That's all you have to do. Make up your mind. You're coming. Come. Why? Because I am close. Why? Because I love you. Ubemela, I'm not going. Everyone said about he said the literature said that there were tzaddikim that's promised when they're going to come up to Maila, they're not going to go into Gan Eden until the Eibishter gives Haftocha that he's bringing Mashiach. And when they would come up, the Tainuge at Gan Eden were so big that they can't dine out, and they went in anyways. And he says, I am not going in. Ihr bleiben there. Until Mashiach comes. It says they came up to Maila, and he was standing outside of Gan Eden, and he heard them davening, and he heard Kedusha, and he heard the Kedusha in Gan Eden. He gave a spring over the walls, and he was also Gan Eden. So the Rebbe said, what's the Eitzah? I was there when the Rebbe said it, by the Farbrengen. And you could hear it like it was happening. The Rebbe said there's only one Eitzah, to take a neder al da'as rabbim. A neder al da'as rabbim means a neder that you can't make for it such a neder. Because a neder al da'as rabbim, then the rabbim have to agree to the hafara, okay? And if not, and it's not possible to get the whole rabbim to the milah. The only Eitzah is a neder al da'as rabbim, not to go. You could hear the Rebbe's voice changed as it was like it was. You could hear the Rebbe making the neder. It was like, why? I'm not because you're in Golis. I'm not. You're in Golis. I'm not going into Gan Eden. I'm staying with you. Which I'm not going into Gan Eden. What does that mean? Not going into Gan Eden? I'm not going. When I'm in Gan Eden, I'm in a place where you aren't. When I'm not, you're not in Gan Eden. I'm not in Gan Eden. But look at Moshe Rabbeinu. Why Moshe Rabbeinu didn't go into Yisrael? Moshe Rabbeinu didn't go into Yisrael. Why? Because his Deren wasn't going to Yisrael. Without them, I'm not going. And that's why Moshe Rabbeinu stayed in Chutz La'aretz with his Der. And when Mashiach comes, and they'll go in, I'll go in with them. On Zeh, gehe ich nicht. That was 3,300 years ago. I'm talking right now. Gimmel Tammuz. The Rebbe says to every single one of us, their oyel is none. The oyel is in Chutz La'aretz. I am here with you. Why? Because I love you. And because you're in Chutz La'aretz and Mashiach didn't come yet, I'm not going away from you. And you come and you're going to tell me about Ich bin schmutzig. Komm wie du bist, aber komm. Come. L'chaim.
Sama lechona
Kama
הקודש עשי שיחה לרייסוסך וכבודך הקודש עשי שיחה לרייסוסך וכבודך בקודש עשי שיחה לרייסוסך וכבודך בקודש עשי שיחה לרייסוסך
Forgive me. Like, maybe it's a personal idiosyncrasy or something, but I always know when I'm in an event that's on a Sunday, and always when I see I don't want to give the type of rabbi, I'll put him, but it's almost inevitable on Sunday you're going to hear redo of Shabbos' drasha. They're always talking about what happened last Shabbos, okay? We're on the new schedule today. What are you telling me about what happened last week? And I was like, oh, it's nice. Come tell me about this week's parsha. Tell me about last week's parsha. Mr. Harav, you're supposed to teach us in Yonah Diema. It's over. So you forgive me, I want to talk about Kerech. Nicht Punkt about Kerech, a Maisa Shahoya. Was Pasha Shlach exactly 35 years ago. We had a kinnis of Shluchim of the area, New England, New York and New England. There wasn't that many Shluchim then. It was of families, and it was in a place. It's on Lake George. It was a beautiful place, and it was a beautiful kinnis, and it was whole families, and it was like we daven together and learn together and Farbrengen together. It was a Shabbos from Gan Eden. There are kids today that are today shluch kids that were there. There are kids that today are shluchim. I've heard from more than one of them say, from that Shabbos is when I'm going to be like my tati. I'm going to be a shliach. If this is what I could be at such a kinnis. It was just beyond belief. That was Shabbos. Sunday morning, and I was left together with one other shliach to write the report to the Rebbe of the kinnis. I took a pen and paper, and I began writing Yom Aleph Leparshas, and I could not write the word Kerach after such a Shabbos. The Sefer Abbas Yisrael was a Sefer Achtes, it was like push. I'm going to write a duch about that kinnis. I'm going to write Yom Aleph Leparshas Kerach. I can't write it. So I took a chumash and I found the pasuk. Okay, the end of Shishik. Ani chelkecha v'nachaloscha, and I wrote Yom Aleph the parshas Ani chelkecha v'nachaloscha, and we wrote the duch, 2-3 pages, and sent it into the Rebbe. The next day, I got a call from one of the maskirim that the Rebbe answered, but it's a beautiful answer, but you have to come and see it yourself. You have to come to see it. So I came to some 70, and he showed me the answer. What was the whole answer? The whole answer was the Rebbe circled the words Ani chelkecha v'nachaloscha, and he wrote the kol ish v'ish chaf aleph vav aleph asher nod v'ruchay v'chulu Psak din Harambam. The Rebbe was referring to the last halacha, Hilchos Shmitas V'Yevlis in the Rambam, where the Rambam writes about, he says, there's talking about the Levim that he said, V'lei Shevet Levi Bulvad, not only Shevet Levi Bulvad, about whom the Eibishter says, but rather Kol Lechad V'Yachad, Kol Ish V'ish, Asher Nod V'Ruchay, and give us up to this is also Niskadish Kedesh HaKadoshim. I never spoke once about this, more than once, but one time he was talking about Niskadish Kedesh HaKadoshim. He said two things. Kol Ish V'ish means even a God. Niskadish Kedesh HaKadoshim, what's Kedesh HaKadoshim? It's paying Gadol on Yom Kippur in Kedesh HaKadoshim. That a person that gets a chapet, is not Varuchay, is Niskadish Kedesh HaKadosh. Now give a look at this. It was like, we're flying. It's like, the Rebbe saying that on us? It's like, it was, we lived with this like, mamish, such a kiruv, such a, I don't want to use the word compliment. The Rebbe didn't give compliments. The Rebbe especially giving a definition. You should know who you are. And then this year, I was looking at it, thinking about it. Yeah, because I knew I was going to be here. And I wanted to share it. And I said, you know something? That maybe you're missing the point. Chassidim, there's a Meseira, where the Rebbe reads a pidyon, reads a zettel. The Rebbe doesn't just see the machshava that you had when you were writing it. The Rebbe sees even the machshava of the first draft that you had. And what the Rebbe saw, Yem Aleph Leparshas and Nachalaska, that I wrote, the Rebbe also saw my Havamina to write in Parshas Kairach. And the Rebbe was telling me, you should know that Pshat Kairach, Parshas Kairach, you know what Parshas Kairach is? Is Ani Chelkacha v'Nachalaska. What Pshat? So when I have to know second, maybe this is a little bit crazy. So I went and I opened up to start looking to see where, and I opened the Punkt Shabbos Parshas Kairach Tov Shinun. I figured, and I gave a look and I see, and the Rebbe writes there, what did Kairach want? Kairach wanted to be Niskadish Kedesh HaKadoshim and have the Ani Chelk Mamish and have, no, it was, yeah, Tov Shinun, that was the year that it happened. The Rebbe wrote to me on Sunday. This is at that Shabbos. The Rebbe repeated what he wrote to me. The Rebbe repeated by the Farbrengen, as in, this is what Kairach wanted. Kairach wanted Ani Chelkacha v'Nachalaska. He wanted to be Niskadish, the Kedesh HaKadoshim that Aaron had. That was what he was looking for. Okay, he didn't go didn't go about it the right way. But what he wanted was what he should have wanted, and what every Yitzhak wants. Not just what every Yitzhak wants, but what every Yid could have. It's something that every single one of us could have. And it's not shut. The Rebbe was talking to me. The Rebbe was talking to you. The Rebbe was talking, and the Rebbe knows good and well that I wrote Yem Aleph the Parshas Kairach. Means that some Mondays Yem Beis the Parshas Kairach, the Gimmel Kairach, and Vivol Shenashir Kairach, and Yem Yivol Shabbos Kairach, and then comes Shabbos Kairach Alein, and the Yid screams Genug Shemit Kairach. I once saw in it was a Yiddish paper. I don't know, some of the Algemein editorial. It was a year that that Shavuos was Friday and Shabbos. So there was an editorial was writing, as it kommt on it, auf Shabbos, a Gast von Eretz Yisrael, a Bamachlikis, a Führer von Politik, a Unterdreher, a kommt on, wer kommt on it von Eretz Yisrael? Kairach. Because in Eretz Yisrael they reached Kairach in such a year, a week earlier. And who wants him? Where darf him as a Gast? And the problem is, it's not the Kairach that's coming from Eretz Yisrael. It's the Kairach that we have inside every one of us, okay? And after their Kairach, that's like, he's like part of us. And a Machmas Meshuggah. And not that Machmas Meshuggah, and we think we're right when we're Meshuggah. And like, Gnukshay. You should know one thing, that every part of Elam Hazeh that you have to face with and deal with, befrat noch the Elam Hazeh shebekibucha and the Kerach shebekibucha, your responsibility is to iberdrein. The Rebbe wasn't giving compliments. You're a shliach, you're an yichalcha v'nachloska. You have that already. No, you struck it. Now you have it, but you have it now on the condition in the next second, in the next minute, in the next hour, in the next day, in the next week, in the next day. As to iberdrein ota der kerach to an yichalcha v'nachloska. That's the whole reason he's coming from Eretz Yisrael. He's coming from Eretz Yisrael. I don't talk about it. He's coming here. He's coming to us, and that mir sollen das überdrehen, and that we should take and make something good of it. And be'etzem weiter. This is our Rebbe. Our Rebbe, the Rebbe of every Yid. That it's an ishtok and inyan shlili. There's not a bad thing in Elam Hazeh, and not a bad thing that is not there other than for one reason, to make it good. To make it good. Nicht ableifen von dem, nor überdrehen. And to turn it into something good. And I can't. It's too much for me. Ich kann nicht. So sagt zu uns, hört sich einig, what are you worried about? What are you afraid of? Ich fahr doch mit euch. I'm here with you. I'll help you. Keines, ich kenne nicht, ihr bin schmutzig. Ich bin allemal schmutzig. The Rebbe says, komm wie du bist, aber komm. Come like you are, but come. Und I'll help you do it. Aber es ist überdrehable. every id has keches b'li gvul. There was once a doctor, not a doctor, he was a rabbi in South Africa. And he was like a part-time rav and part-time business. Shabbos was a rav and the week was business. But he was doing both, and he was matzliach in both. He was matzliach in business and matzliach in the rabbanis. Until he realized that he has to make a choice. Because he saw that both can grow, but that both should grow, you have to pick one. Both could, but only one. And someone was saying to him that he should go to the Rebbe and ask the Rebbe what to do. Well, not a Lubavitcher. And he came to, he was in the Chidus, and that was the question he asked the Rebbe. So the Rebbe said to him, you should do both, but more of both. He says, I can't do now both, not to do more of both. It's not possible. So the Rebbe said to him, I think that he was in the chemical business, something to do with chemicals. So the Rebbe said to him, you know what your problem is? You are mixing up chemical reactions with atomic reactions. You think on terms of chemical reactions. What's that chemical reactions? You take one chemical and you take another chemical and you mix them together. And vert from them, okay? Twice as much, 3 times as much. That's a chemical reaction. What's an atomic reaction? Atomic reaction, you take one atom with another atom and boom, and what comes out of that? A result that's push it as much as is possible in Elam Agashmi, b'li gvul, it's like unlimited. What an atomic reaction is. The Rebbe said when 2 Yidden come together, it's not a chemical reaction. It's an atomic reaction. It's b'li gvul. You know, there's like people that would describe friendly Yidden or people that was like, you know, that speak in those language, but they're describing how it was to be by Daldas to the Rebbe or by Chidus, especially. So like, I felt like when the Rebbe looked at me, I felt like, as far as the Rebbe, there was nothing else in the whole universe, just me. That's the kind of look that's how and I would hear that. You hear that from many people, from so many different places that have that same reaction when they feel, how they felt when the Rebbe looked at them. Like, there's actually even from Yitzchak Rabin, there's like a clip of him describing that, you know, that Rebbe's eyes, how he looked at it. But Etzem, they're 100% right. That's exactly what happened. When the Rebbe looked at him, the Rebbe looked at you, there was nothing else on the Heil Mouth. What says nothing else on the Mouth? So there's a whole world still. The Rebbe forgot about the whole world when he looked at you. Chas v'shalom. Pshat. The Rebbe looked at Tayyid. The Rebbe looked all the way into the neshama. What's a neshama? A Yiddish neshama is a chelek leka mimal mamash. It's a shtik ebishter. What's pshat? It's pashut b'li gvul. There's no gvulis. A Yid is be'etzem. A Jew be'etzem is b'li gvul. Has within him b'li gvul. Pashut unlimited. Nishtaking gvulis. And the Rebbe looks into the Rebbe looks into Ayid. Zeter Darken. He sees the whole universe there. Not sure there is no other thing other than that's the whole universe is right there. In every mimer, not every mimer, clearly, and I would say this, I'm not first of all, I can't say every mimer because I didn't learn every mimer, but every mimer I learned, either explicitly, if not implicitly, implicitly, the Rebbe comes always to a place that until Gimmel Tammuz, the Rebbe will be talking about Ayid, the Greich, to such a level, and then it gets a higher level, this, and then the Rebbe would start until to Etzem, and Neshama, the Maimer, and Kolak Bolis, this, you learn the Maimer, and you'd say, So who's the Rebbe talking about? Not to me. The Rebbe's talking about himself. That this is what a Rebbe is. A Rebbe is like that, which was, a good excuse before Gimmel Tammuz. After Gimmel Tammuz, who's the Rebbe talking about? He's talking about me. He's talking about you. He's talking about every one of us. Odos heist ayid. And you look at it and like, what? There's the mimer, the last mimer that the Rebbe gave out, the Chalukah, okay? It's the mimer of Atif Tzava. The Rebbe gave it on Purim Cotton, Tavshin Nun Beis. It was the last time the Rebbe gave anything out. There was like mamash. What was the date then? It was Gimmel, Yud Aleph. No, Yud Aleph probably. Purim Cotton was Yud Aleph. Okay, Yud Aleph. And the Rebbe had it was Chav Zayin other. So it was mamash 2 weeks before. And it's like you learn it. It's like learn that mimer. The mimer was said Tavshin Mem Aleph. And the Rebbe gave it out, right? Mamash, the last thing he gave out, and you can look at it, it's a tzavah. It's Pashat tzavah. When you learn the mimer. And it's a mimer about Moshe Rabbeinu, it's a mimer about Nasi Yisrael. But then, Karagil, the Rebbe doesn't let off, but this is what Moshe Rabbeinu is, and this is what Nasi Yisrael is. Yeah, it's all fine and good, but what's their Rebbe negate to us? Was heißt das benegay tzayid? And the Rebbe writes that the taken of the Maimer, it's Miyusad and a Maimer of the Frierdiker Rebbe. That the Frierdiker Rebbe said, Tafresh Pezayin, in the height of the Stalin, and it was the worst time. And that's the Maimer the Rebbe said then is, in hindsight, was like the trigger for his arrest, because he said it in the presence of KGB in Moscow in the big shul. And the Rebbe was talking about the Mesiras Nefesh that you didn't have to have. And the Rebbe's Makasher, the Mesiras Nefesh in the time of Mordechai and Esther, v'chulu, and what Mordechai Ugitan, the Mesiras Nefesh. And then the Rebbe says, there's two kinds of Mesiras Nefesh. There's one kind of Mesiras Nefesh that comes in a time of Gzeira, that a person is kosis, tzebrachen, from the, and that pushes him to be Mesiras Nefesh. He's squeezed, kosis lamor, squeezed to the point that he brings himself to a darga of Mesiras Nefesh v'ligvul. That was entire Mordechai Esther, and the Rebbe goes on to say, and that was when the Frierdiker Rebbe said that mimer, and it was talking about that time. That's what they were having then. Now the Rebbe lost in Shtapper. He says now. The Rebbe says now we're living in Artzis. A Yid can be kaim Deren mitzvahs on Hagbolas, on ken mitzarim ugvulim and this year. And he says l'cha'era, it's a double pella. I'll tell you a story. It's not directly to the Maimer, but it's very this is a chaver of mine, his mother. The story happened probably in the Chofs. A woman, she was a Chassidish family, and she wasn't feeling well. She went to the doctor. It was Hanukkah. She went to the doctor, and the doctor examined her and said, look, and sent her right away to a specialist in Manhattan. He said she has to go right away. She got on the subway, and she went to the specialist in Manhattan. Again, the specialist examined her, and his diagnosis was a terrible diagnosis. It couldn't be a worse. Okay, that he said, you should go home to your family. It's we're talking about a couple of months. So she hears it. It's like she's a mother with children. She gets back on the subway and she goes back. She didn't go home. She went to 770. She went into Rabbi Chadakov. The Rebbe says, I have to go into Yechidus. I have to talk to the Rebbe. So he says, first was no Yechidus today. Yechidus was only Sunday and Sunday and Thursday. And hey, that's 3 months to wait for Yechidus, 4 months for Yechidus, whatever. I mean, even in those days, it was like, he said, but whatever, you have to talk to the Rebbe, so write it, and that's it. It's like, was kannst du nicht? So this was Rabbi Chadikov had an office. Rabbi Chadikov was the Rebbe's, the Rebbe Shamaskiris, the head secretary. He was there. So he had his own office, but he also had a desk in the regular office in 770. And this was there. So she was talking to him there. He said, "Ich kenne nicht." I said, "Was kennst du nicht?" He says, "Ich kann nicht schreiben auf Lashon Kodesh. I can't write Lashon Kodesh, and I'm not going to write the Rebbe a letter in Russisch. Ich kann nicht schreiben zum Rebbe auf Russisch. Ich kann nicht. I'm not going to write a letter zum Rebbe auf schreiben auf Russisch. I have to talk to the Rebbe." So he said, "You have to. You can't nicht find." And he went back to his office. One of the other maskirim said to her, "Go stand near the Rebbe's door. Let's go stand near the Rebbe's door." So she stood in the Rebbe's door. When the Rebbe came back from Ma'ariv, so she was standing there, and so the Rebbe saw, the Rebbe stopped and said, "It is." So the Rebbe said to her, Ich kenne dich nicht von Samarkand. You're not like you were in Samarkand. Like, was hast du in Mörder? Hör sich ein. Geh heim, go home. Mach Latkes für die Kinder. Prepare Latkes for your children. Mach a Chanukah Suda, wie man darf machen, und vergess von der alle Narrigkeit. Forget about all of this Narrigkeit. She lived another 40 years. The Rebbe was never in some. This Mrs. Langsam was one of those. Was also part of the group that was working on getting the false passports to leave. Mama, she was a Balis Mesiras Nefesh. She wasn't afraid of anything. Never says to her, "Ich kenne it's not the same one from Samarkand. You're not. I don't. The Kendanish from Samarkand." The only problem was the Rebbe was never in Samarkand. How do you mean the Rebbe knew her from Samarkand? Ich kenne nicht from Samarkand. The Rebbe was never in Samarkand. They wasn't talking about being in the Samarkand. The Mesiras Nefesh. Ich kenne der Balis Mesiras Nefesh. You're not afraid of nothing. You're not afraid of the KGB, and you're not afraid of what the Siberian. You're not afraid of jail. Mit der Molda, mit der Doktor, bist du gewonnen. What are you afraid of? Was ist geschehen mit der Mesiras Nefesh that you're not afraid? That's what the Rebbe looks at her and said to her and reminded her. Okay, the Rebbe reminded her, and that's it. What did the Rebbe do? The Rebbe did to her what Mordechai did to the Yid, what Moshe did to the Yid. Gave her back her Mesiras Nefesh. He was megalin her ability to push it. Verlozach of the Eibishter, okay, that the Eibishter fear the Welt, and you do what you have to do, and the Eibishter is going to take care of everything else. And that's the problem. The problem is that Yidden that had Mesiras Nefesh, in the times of the Yid Mesiras Nefesh, the way the Rebbe writes it in the Maimer, and he says, and then now it's nish nire, but it's Yizar Rebbe. He can't say Chalela, not so good. So he writes in Chotz Igel, Eine nire, and then he writes in Chotz Igel, Kol Kach, HaMesiras Nefesh. Yeah, of course, but not still. It's not the same. And the Rebbe says, Nervos. Be'etzem Ayid, Pnimius Nafshe, the Zerbrochenkeit that comes from a Goy, a Seni Yisrael, a Tzeri Yehudim, is not anything compared to the Zerbrochenkeit that Ayid Be'etzem has from the Etzem Inyan that we're still in Golos, and the Shchinte Begalusa. That makes us even more Zerbrochenkeit. Even more tzibrochen, and is more of a that brings out a Mesiras Nefesh that's beyond Hagbolas. Now, the Rebbe is talking to us, and like, yeah, everybody says 3 times a day, 3 times a day, 5 times a day, even. Everybody wants Gula Mitzvah Vashlema. But like, are we saying it? I ask you, even when they say, I'm daven shem v'ayid daven. Okay, you talk a daven the way he eats the daven. And let's say Sadat, so okay, that when you say Rifa'enu, because you're thinking of somebody, that is like, a slick taka, and you say the Refaenu like with a, and then you say the Sechzana. So where are you feeling it more? And where are you saying it with more Zibrachenkeit? With more, when you're saying Refaenu, or when you're saying the Sechzana? But I'm not asking the question. I'm going to answer the question for me. Okay, obviously. I can't go on the but there's always a Brachenkeit of that I'm feeling taka that the Churban is only because of me. And Salim Mir is the Churban HaBeis HaMikdash Mamish, that is, if it's the Tisha B'Av of 2,000 years ago, it's right now, this minute by me. But it doesn't come to the Zbrachenkeit Chalela Le'aleinu V'Alechem that somebody's in a sakon and sick in an ICU, and the Rebbe says, no, it's nicht azay. Be'etzem, your Zbrachenkeit in the fact that the Eibishter is still in Golus, and that the Beis Hamikdash is noch nicht geworden geworden, and there's no Gilui of Gilui Elokus like there should be in Beis Hamikdash. It will be in the Beis Hamikdash. Is by you even more, and thus it pulls you and it brings you to even more Mesiras Kayach of Mesiras Nefesh to do. The Rebbe is not saying this is what it should be like. The Rebbe says this is how a Eid is. Now the only thing is just get in touch with yourself. Just get in touch with yourself the way it really is. Read this as a vanemes, and you'll see. What will you see? That you can do in Yonim that are built-in mugbalim, that are like impossible. It's impossible. Do it. And you'll see you'll be able to do it. Why? Because by you, it's not a chemical reaction. You're talking here about Yid, and we do just stuff for Tzveiten Yidden. It's two Yidden together. Ein Yid for Tzveiten. That's a nuclear reaction. It's unhagbolus. B'li, and that every one of us can. That's Gimmel Tammuz. That's Gimmel Tammuz. The Rebbe is saying to us, "Has a chaynet." For us, Gimmel Tammuz was, it's taka true. There states it's a Yom Hilula. A yard says it's a Yom Hilula. It is Yom Hilula, but what kind of? I don't know. It still feels more like a Tisha B'Av than a Yom Hilula. Okay, it's not. It's a nishdas. That's not the way it has to be. It's not the way it should be. And then Yud Shvat Tovshin Yud Aleph. The Rebbe said by the Farbrengen. That's the first Farbrengen. The Rebbe was Makabel Nesias. So the Rebbe was talking. The Rebbe said there on the first six. The Rebbe said, "Ich hab es gemitten zu sagen der Wort Yahrzeit." In the weeks, in the letters that I wrote in the Sichas, he said, I never used the word Yahrzeit. I didn't want to say the word Yahrzeit about Yud Shvat is coming. For was? Weil ich hab nicht geglaubt, dass es durchgehen a Yahrzeit. I wasn't prepared to accept that a year would go by. It can't be. So, Yetz Hashem, next Gimmel Tammuz, we're going to be together, Mashiach and the Rebbe here with us together in Eretz Yisrael, and Beis Hamikdash, and Metalik, with the Sachen, okay? But until then, the only thing that what Gimmel Tammuz can say to us is that we have, and that's what the Rebbe says in the Maimer, that's what the Atat Tzav is, as du hast in sich. As such, your neshama is so far-fetched and so hurting from the fact of Merzayin noch in Golus that it brings out in you a Mesiras Nefesh, a Kayach of Mesiras Nefesh, to do things that are the Maila Mikola Golus. It can do. You think it's not possible. It's possible. It's possible. Why? Well, du bist Eid, and you have a Chelik Elakami Ma'al Mamish that is built in Mugbal, and it expresses itself in you. It's not something that that a Makubal knows about, okay? That there's a Nefesh and a Ruach and a Neshama and a Chaya and Yechida and it's Mushish and Atzvus and Muhus, which is all true. But P'chanish Negeya, because I'm not a Makubal and it's not, no. So there's Zayah Negeya. This chelik elika, you have. It gives you the keich pasha today, right now. Read the geist, read the shteist. It's like I keep saying there is a come to me. Come wie du bist, aber come. I'm not talking about begashmis to come. To go to the El is a good thing to do. Absolutely, go to the El. But like right here and now. Okay, I know that I have to do tomorrow morning. I can only do so much. Come there, and the Rebbe and Zakta, no, you can do lots more. You can do bligvul more. You have the keich to do it. When the Eibishter get the alles you what it says, and the Eibishter told me to give you the brachas to be able to actually make it happen. And we have to do it. L'chaim.
We could would come a little closer. So.
There was a shliach, a young shliach. He came to a new place. And he was making his first pu'ula in this place. I think it was Hanukkah. And so he rented a hall. He brought Bochrim to help him. And he set up this whole event, a Hanukkah event. I'm not sure exactly what type it was supposed to be, exactly whatever. He sent out publicity. And the event was called, whatever day of Hanukkah was, for 7:30 at night, such a place. He figures it's in a new place, so and he knows that you have to be a Masuder and not, umgelumpet. So it's called for 7:30, and he made sure everything should be ready by 7 o'clock. It could be such kind of people that come early, and so it shouldn't be like when they come and he's still schlepping chairs and tables and mice. Everything is out from 7 o'clock. It's great. And he's waiting. No, people didn't come early. But if it's 7:30, and 7:30, no one's there. Okay, so he made a mistake. He thought these are people that come early. Kanira, in this place, they come late. All right, so 7:45, 8, 8:15. 8:30, and it's 8:45. Not one person is there. He was like, "It's a bracha nafshtiker over garnish nicht." I mean, it doesn't go, it doesn't go. So they started taking apart everything. Brachim were helping him, and they putting everything together. 9 o'clock, a guy walks in. So they tell him, it's like. This, I don't know how he would manage to somehow. But God is the event is ain't happening. It's not okay. Okay. And the next day he sat down. He wrote a letter to the Rebbe, describing what happened, and someone asked me, bracha that the next time or whatever point was. He gets a telephone call from the Rebbe secretary, from Rabbi Chadakov. Rabbi Chadakov said to him, I was told to tell you the following. That Bechlal, when Shluchim make a pu'ula, an event, and 1,000 people come, from those 1,000 people, maybe 100 stay still connected in some way. From the 100 people that stay connected because of that event, maybe 10 begin a regular connection with Chves that come on a regular basis to Ashir. From those 10, 1 becomes Taka Abal Tshuva B'chol Muvan Amila. That's a success. Dear, the Eibishter wanted to take away from you the whole trouble, and he sent you that 1 right away, and you sent him away. So I'm not going anywhere. I'm already looking back at it. I'll leave this Chukah for later, but if you begin to understand clearly what he was, it becomes a lot easier to understand what the Rebbe says about the Meraglim. Which goes, and again, it's almost a shitose of the Rebbe. It's in Shtazazach that there's something that's not good. The Rebbe can't. Do you know that the Rebbe never said never? I mean, there's like not even a negative word. I heard this not from a friend, but it was like doing research. He said the Rebbe never said a negative word, even in English. The Rebbe never. I once brought a Taimach was from Australia. Originally from Australia. He was actually one of the first ones when we moved to Connecticut that helped us to get underway. And I brought him to the Rebbe once, And the Rebbe said, it was from Australia. The Rebbe said in English, you come from a place that's not close, that was founded by people who were not good. Says Australia is far, and it was founded by convicts. But the Rebbe didn't want to say far, so the Rebbe said not close. They didn't even say bad, so the Rebbe said not good. He says the Rebbe wouldn't even use the word deadline. 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 The Rebbe said due date. Deadline. Or a retreat. This is a very Lashon Hara retreat. Everyone said, what's a retreat? He doesn't go backwards, it goes forward. There's no such thing as a negative. But the Rebbe, everything was not good, okay? And Alachas Kama v'Kama when it comes to Ayidin, and Alachas Kama v'Kama comes in Torah. The Meraglim, the Rebbe made from the Meraglim like, yeah, they made a mistake, like a really bad mistake, but it's hard to understand. It's very easy to understand why they made the mistake. Their problem wasn't that they were afraid to go into Eretz Yisrael because they didn't want to, they were afraid the Eibush was not going to be able to protect them. They have to be Mushagoyim to, they were B'tzias Mitzrayim, the Aser Makis, and the Kriyas Samsuf, and Matan Torah, and the Eibush can't say Shteitz again, but they were afraid. They weren't worried about the Eibush, they were worried about themselves. What was their problem? Their problem was that they were afraid they're going to come into Eretz Yisrael, and they're not going to be surrounded by the Ananei HaKoved with the Mon Mumayla and all of the Tztachas taken care of. But they're able to sit and learn taste a whole day long. What did they do in Midbar? What were they doing that whole year from Matan Torah until Chaf year? They were sitting and learning, and they have this. They would go. Now all of a sudden, they're going to have to go to a place. Nishmat kind of learn, and Nishmat kind of daven, and you have to worry about this, you have to worry about that. They were afraid that they weren't able to do it. The Eibush could do whatever he wants, but we can't. That was the miracle. What was the problem with that? The problem with that is that the Eibush wants that Deren b'tachtein. The Eibush wants Dafke should make Dafke b'tachtein. That's how the Rebbe always. Vertach the Shaila. They were learning Torah from Matan Torah till Chafir. They were sitting and learning. They were learning Torah. What were they learning? Torah, yeah, the Torah that you and I have. So Bamela learned Torah. They weren't going to because they didn't learn. They didn't know the sikh about the Meraglim, that the Meraglim, and that was a mistake. They didn't know about Deren b'tachtein. They didn't know that this was the Kavan Olyena. So what were they? What was weiter? So what were they thinking? Mela, I am afraid. No. They were like Ben, they were giants, and they were afraid to do what the Eibush wanted them to do. You know what their problem was? The problem with the Meraglim was a Maisa that happened in Parshas Ba'aleischa. What happened in Parshas Ba'aleischa? In Parshas Ba'aleischa, the Tzatz HaMaisa, it's like such a strange story. It's right in there. It's 3 psukim, and weitergegangen. It's like almost like it didn't happen. What was the Maisa? What did he say? Elda B'meida Misnabim Menachem. What were the Misnabim? What did they say? Mesha is going to die, and Yeshua is going to take us. Mesha is not going to take us into Eretz Yisrael. Yeshua is going to take us into Eretz Yisrael. And that was their problem. These same people now that Mesha should say in Eretz Yisrael to see what's going to happen there. Whatever they're going to see is going to happen there. But yeah. But now, But Mesha is not coming with us. Yeah, we could do everything. Of course we could do everything. We could do everything because we have Mesha with us. But Mesha is not coming. We just heard from Elder the Maid it said Misnabim. Torah says they're Misnabim, so it means the Pshat is a Nevuah Emes. So if it's Emes and Nevuah, hey, it's just Mesha Kupt nicht. Das kennen wir nicht. Okay, everything we're able to do. Ganz alle Tayag Mitzvahs. Because we have a Rebbe. Aber on a Rebbe, how can we do it? That was their problem. No. But it was like this. The only two Yeshua and Kolev. They Ruach Acheres Yeshua. They had like another Zugang. So Yeshua had another Zugang. Can I verstehen? It's easy to understand. Moshe Rabbeinu hat allein mispal gewen koish yachad mitzas meraglim. So he had pushed a offene bracha from Moshe that you don't have to worry. What the others are going to say is not going to hurt you. Now, just as a shaila, if Moshe was mispal for Yeshua, why wasn't he mispal for the other 11? But it's only for Yeshua. It's answered l'cher is pasha. Of course, he was mispal for the other ones. The difference between them and Yeshua, that Yeshua heard Moshe say it. It was a klare begoli. Yeshua got a bracha that he heard, and everybody heard. And what about the other ones? The other ones didn't hear it. But Moshe certainly said it. Moshe certainly was mispal for every one of them. Moshe was a Rebbe for every Yid, not for just for Yeshua. That now what? Yeshua now Yom Shmitecha. So since he was Yom Shmitecha, but mainly he heard the Koyeshiach. The others, they didn't hear it. They knew it, but they didn't hear it. But Gashmis, they didn't hear it. Ubemela, it didn't. The bracha was there, but the effect wasn't because they didn't hear it. So how did Kolev hear it? And how did Kolev take a stand? Weiter steht offen klar. What was the difference in Kolev and the other 10? As soon as they came to Eretz Yisrael, the first thing Kolev did was he went to the El. Kolev went to the El. And because Kolev went to the El, the Mele, he was nitzel from the kisholen of the other 10, because he was by the El. It was like some kind of episruchnistic. Yeah, it was. But Pshat, what happened there? And why Taka? It's like what this point? Because the schus is beigestanden that he was by Avram Yitzchak and Yankov, but maybe that got the schus always or something. I mean, what's the geshen? L'chayra Pshat is very simple. Yeshua, Kolev went to the El and he discovered something very simple. What? The Rebbe Marash, that's the Friedrich Rebbe Zayda, the fourth Rebbe, the Rebbe Marash, Tzemach Tzedek's son. The Rebbe Marash was Nistalik, Yud Gimmel Tishrei. And Yud Gimmel Tishrei is this day before Erev Sukkot. In those days, noch given the mark of the internet. So people didn't know, they even telegraphed in Michigan as like a double person. Most people just found out about this stuff. They said, Marash Cholamed. Esh Cholamed. It was from Lubavitch until it. There was a Greiserov in a Stadt, das Geist in Chernigiv. Gewesen, called him Peretz Chaim, Peretz Chernigiv. A Goan Otzum, a Ilui, a Pemap with Margolius. He was Mamisha. Und sein Tate, when nach Farem, as David Hirsch was before him, that's actually his son afterwards became a Rav, and actually it wasn't Chernigiv. But Mendelheim was also, and I don't have to go into the whole story. This repairs Chernigiv. In Chernigiv, they found out about the Stalkus Esh Tishan Rab. And their parents, Chernigiv, came into Shul, Arish Minitzeres by night, came into Shul. That's when they told him the Rebbe's Rebbe. He heard it. The Rebbe's, he chalshed. Quickly they came, they tied him, they woke him up, and as soon as he woke up, and it took the month, what happened? He fainted again. And weiter, they minted, and noch einmal gechalished. And that happened a couple of times. They called the doctor. And the doctor says, it's going to come. We're not going to be able to wake him up. It's not soon. It's not going to be able to wake him up. It's getting worse and worse. He had no eitzes. So they called his father, the Radatz. He was already a Tzok Muflik, couldn't go to shul, but they went running and they brought him to shul. He came into shul and he bent down to the Rebbe Shinigiver, and he like whispered in his ear. He said, "A Rebbe geht Gimmel nicht weg. A Rebbe geht Gimmel nicht weg." And with that, he was able to. A Rebbe geht Gimmel nicht weg. And that's what Kolev discovered when he went to the El. As a Rebbe geht Gimmel nicht weg. When Kolev came back, and said, "Yas Kolev, Kol Am Al Moshe." Yas Kolev. What does it say? The Rashi was asked, "What did he say?" Ola Naila. And he's like, "Amadna Rashi, Ola Naila." What does it say? Ola Naila. Rashi says, "Ola Naila, Bashamoy." Pshuta Shomikra, Ola Naila will go up means where? To Eretz Yisrael. So Rashi, Pshuta Shomikra, Rashi says, what? Ola Naila, Bashamayim. Will go up in Himmel. She'afilu, if Moshe Rabbeinu tzog, asu tzulamais va'alu hashamayma, Moshe will tell us, make ladders in Krich and Himmel, nasa v'natzliach. We'll do it when we matzliach. Because Moshe says it. This says, we have Moshe. Moshe is minhan, a Rebbe is man. There's no such thing as the noise. There's no such thing as impossible. There's no such thing as Hagbolas. A Moshe to hasten Krichen in Himmel. Begashmis, take a ladder in Krichen Himmel. We'll take ladders and we'll Krichen Himmel. Why? Because Moshe said we could do it. As a Moshe to hasten, can't even understand. If this is what Moshe wants us to do, we'll be able to do it. Moshe is in Himmel, dann ist das, Moshe et allem mit uns sein. Der Rebbe geht nicht weg. A Rebbe doesn't go away. And that's Pshuta Shel Mikra. Pshuta Shel Mikra. That, Taka Gimmel Tammuz, a Rebbe geht kein nicht weg. I can tell a story here that's like a little, like anything else. Yes, I'll tell the story. God, I said enough. Anybody will have a complaint. Ich will be gesagt Chaim, and it's not my fault. Chaim. Rav Wolfson. Everybody knows Rav Wolfson. So he was very nicht gesund. So they had to make an operation. It's hard. And it was like, if they don't make the operation, the doctor said, it's mamash. But the doctors were afraid to make the operation because they were afraid the operation itself is a sakana. And it was like stuck. You have to, not to make the operation, good. You have to make the operation, right? How he was machal, I don't know, but he was machal to make the operation. But he asked, he had Talmidim in Lakewood. He asked his Talmidim should come during the time of the operation, they should come to the El. And they should be mispalled by the El during the time of the operation, which they did. And Baruch Hashem, the operation was talking about Tzliach. Afterwards, his Talmidim came to Mevak Chela. So one of them said to him, he said, Rabbi, why did you want we should dafka come to the Oil? From Lakewood till Queens, the Chafran, unterwegs, is like quite a few kibbutz tzaddikim. For bosses, why dafka you wanted we should be by the Oil? So he said, weil ich hab gewollt leben, because I wanted to. Chaim. Diddy ya la da la 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 ya la da la da la 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 da la da la 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 ya la da la da ya ya la da ya la la ya la la ya la da ya la la ya la la ya la da ya la la ya 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 Chaim, has a question.
You spoke so strong about the you could go so short. How does it go together? How does it
go
go together with avoiding the koyachatz? What you said before, so it's a short way.
The Alter Rebbe wanted to give the Tzemach Tzedek a bracha of Hatzlacha in learning. So the Tzemach Tzedek said to him, Ich will allein arbeiten. What? He doesn't want to get learning. Ich will allein arbeiten auf zu kennen. Später, the Tzemach Tzedek said he had Charlotte Mosertis gesagt, verwas, darf nehmen den Brache Und noch ein Brache, erst nehmen arbeiten. So, has a kind, okay? The Brache, I can say it like from several levels. Okay? I can tell it to you by even a scholar or Pashut Kapshut. Kapshut as the Friedrich Rebbe hat einmal gesagt, that ihr redet ackern und säen und ich will euch benchen mit Regen, was es machen zu wachsen. Regen, the brachas are like rain that makes it grow. But rain that makes it grow only helps a prayer akat mezait. If you first plow and you plant, then not have help, okay? But if a puste feld, the regen it garnish, but was it wachsen dort and you don't want, okay? So that's
What's first and what's second?
Oh, that zweitens is, let's say aber der feld is taka puste. And like I said earlier, it's not so simple to make from a pustefeld a geackert and a gezete. It's a big job, and it takes time, yeah. Und der Rebbe sagt, wie du gehst und wie du stehst, okay? Kom, a big kom. That's Yisrael, so that's from the other side of it, okay? A was gibt der Rebbe der Brache? Wie du gehst und wie du stehst. But the bracha is going to be as even though b'derech hateva, to change from a pustefeld to a geackert and a gezete feld. Gedeur Zeit bis ma'ackert and bis mezeit. Okay, it's a big job. Und da kommst da pustefeld, gibt der Rebbe a bracha at that what that even that pustefeld at echet kennen, von dort at echet kennen. But you're going to have to work anyways. No, there's to use Belashon Medina, there's no free lunch. You should talk about that, okay? It's like, yeah, you'll have it. The truth, never get. Okay. Everybody got it. Okay, but what did you do with it? What did you do with it? Now do something with it, okay? How the seichel do with it, okay? So never get the bracha. Don't wait to become the chassid that comes to the ale. If I wait till I become a chassid to come to the ale, I'll never get to the ale. Come, I was says, okay, now, okay, now use it. Don't waste it. Okay, how do you use it? Oh, noch, Aveda Satzme. It's only Aveda Satzme. There's nothing happens on Aveda Satzme. All good. Chassidus Chagas gives onashir, onagbolus, okay? And the brachas were mekuyim, like they're big tzaddikim. They give big brachas, and the brachas are mekuyim. But the person, even the man of Atatzave, acharei kechles hakol, the Rebbe says, yeah, it's like host alek. You have like a keiches built in mekbolim. Inside the kosis that is be'etzim anishama. And that's to Rissenkeit, it's a Brachkeit, du bist noch in Golis, even though you don't feel that you have it, okay? Now, what are you going to do with it? Morgen der Früh darfst du aufstehen, und you darfst arbeiten, okay? And then Mashiach comes, aber du darfst arbeiten. And then you can't be Meshana Kol Elam Hazeh, and you're going to stay at Rabbi Young. It's not going to happen. It's like true. The Rabbi Young also has to be Meshana. Okay, Yisrael Deren has no choice. Connecticut is his achrayas and his responsibility, and he's going to wait till he becomes a chassid before he starts working in Connecticut. It's a churban, okay? But what's the Yisrael Deren? You also have to be, okay? And you that's taka echet sof kol sof ve'er na chassid, okay? It's not enough to make chassid. You have to also become a chassid, okay? And it's easier. I'm telling you right now, it's a hell of a lot easier to make a chassid than to be a chassid. Chaim. Meint nicht, als sich gemacht hat Rebbe, und kennt sich, this is what the Rebbe said when he was Makabel in the seas. Don't think that you made yourselves a Rebbe. And now you're going to go, every one of you, ish tachat gafne, ish tachat einase, and your Rebbe that you made is going to take care of everything. Don't talk yourselves into thinking that you're like a magician that can bring out birds out of your pocket. That's nishtazeh, okay? Everybody has to take their own nefesh ha'arbet mit seinem eigenen nefesh ha'bamis, mit seinem eigenen Yitzhahara, und das Libra machen. And the Rebbe is not freeing you from any responsibilities. Mit Njalevin helfen. I won't be stingy to help. Over, you have to do the work. Ich will Njalevin helfen. I'm not going to be stingy. Oh, you was the Rebbe not stingy. Okay, it's like, it's not like, it's impossible to believe it. In Tovshin Nun base, from Rosh Hashanah until Chav Zayin Adar, the Rebbe gave out more and did more and gave. Begashmis is not. It's not possible to understand how a person could do such a thing. Not even before Tavshin Nun Zayin, Tavshin Nun Dalet. Okay, in Tavshin Nun Aleph, when the Rebbe gave out tanyas, by he to everybody. Somebody made the cheshbon of the weight of the tanyas that the Rebbe gave out. In other words, from the time he started giving until he finished, like 6 hours. I don't know how many people. I mean, how many people went by and how much each tanyas. We're talking thousands of pounds that the Rebbe pushed it. And by the men, you could see towards the end how the Rebbe, it was pushed, you know. But then when the women came, again, like the Rebbe, each one, like, you know, like it wasn't polite. You have to be. It's not. And how many times the Rebbe gave lekach? The Rebbe gave out lekach. Shana Rabbah. I mean, before Yom Kippur. All right, so several times, but only once. Says people didn't go before, could go again, could go later. The Rebbe gave 4 times lekach. The Rebbe gave I don't know how many contrays. Every Shabbat, every Sunday $. And how many sichas and how many this giving and giving and giving and giving and giving and giving. Like somebody was magda tavshin in the base. Last year, that there was without Habbolis, the giving in a way that a normal, it was not b'derech hateva, that a human being, I'm not talking somebody 92 years old, I'm talking about 90 years old that could do something like that. No, it's not normal. Person can't do so many things on Habbolis. When the Rebbe said 40 years earlier, ich will mit Jalaven helfen. I won't be stingy on helping. Boy, was the Rebbe not. I mean, like it was like such an opposite of. But every one of those things was, and now take it and work with it and do with it. Like if I didn't give a sefer that you should bind it on both sides, say this, you know, you should say good, okay? I gave you the sefer to learn it, not to hold it in your shafa, okay? And I didn't give you the $1 so that you should give another person $1 to tzedakah medemus the yitzchak. Okay, I gave you $1 that you should be machaya nefesh, tzedakah yid, you know, hasten to yid. Okay, that's the avodas hasra didn't stop. Okay, navas, it was built on brachas bluti mugbalim that Mamela can, and after Gimmel Tammuz, you know, and Tavshin and Hey, when we learned the first time. Geras Simchav Zayin, it's Tzadik the spot Yatem B'Chayayu. So then it was like B'Amuna, like Medafon B'Amuna diverted with the Rabbi. The Rebbe says Yatem B'Chayayu. But come on, hello, the Rebbe's. But now 30 years later, you do a look and you see what happened. How many brachas? You know? It's like, but in every one of those brachas are brachas, not brachas to be able to sit. And like every one of those brachas are brachas like there is masbir how the Rambam in musad on the Rambam in Tshuva that all of the haftachas in the Torah that it was done as that Eibishter is Maftiach that will happen. K'dei aduzos ken tomer. That's not Elam Haba. Elam Haba is schar. Da handelt es sich not about schar. Now it's handling, the Ebershter said, Nasati Shalom Baritz. Why would Nasati Shalom Baritz? Not so you should have schar, they should be able to see it. Nasati Shalom Baritz, kadei you should be able to learn Torah b'menucha, you should be able to do mitzvahs without any mitzvah megvul. Okay? Aber the Aveda, that's done. And in the Aveda, the Tech Menucha is not, the Masha doesn't become any easier. Not the Ramshif. Okay? That you have to be able to learn the Ramshif. Musto Pashutalein. Okay? Yeah, it's like, it won't help, even with art school. That's Chalein Akitan. The Chaim. The Rebbe Shmesed, the Rebbe Rashab, was one time in a kurort, English.
Okay. Not a healing spa?
A healing spa, Baden-Baden in Deutschland. And there was there a Yekische Godel, one from the Deren, from Deutschland. I think his name was Rabbi Bamberger. But it could be it's not, wasn't him, maybe somebody else. But he was also there. And the Rebbe Shoseden was mechabit him. There are stories with him. And there was a Perish Chassidim. And so they didn't know who this was, but the Rabbi Sheva, they knew. And they saw how the the Rebbe was saying was Miyake, this Yekish Rav, so wir verstanden, that der Mistammer there as Adam Godel. Came by eating, they had a chance in the garbage ships, so they schapped Shirayim from the Rebbe's plate. They saw how the Rebbe was Miyake, this Yekish Godel, so they schapped Shirayim from the Meichel. By him, it was like it's a piece of pale tashvir sakelim, it was like the best. The Rebbe was saying, sees what's going on, to go and start explaining to him Amaisim with tzutzis, with sabirurim, it wasn't going to. So he told him, he said, they want to be machabit somebody, chaf v'nam shirayim. Okay, those are their meaning, that's their meaning. So from then on, when anybody chapped from Shirayim, so he said to him, a dankeshein, a dank for COVID. Zazeh. Okay, I sit by Shluchim, to Farbrengen. Maybe it's Farbrengen. I'm like a traveling intern. There's a name for it in English. Intern Rabbi. It's a double, not every day, but and very often, after an hour into the Farbrengen, so the shliach says to the testament, like, okay, I have to tomorrow, I have a meeting with Halabos, I have a chweis, I'm meeting at 2 o'clock in the morning, so I have to leave the Farbrengen. Okay, and you're sitting here. Okay, so shut up. I want to tell you that. Thank you. I'm here just like it's a couple. Amazing. Diddy ya ya da ya da ya da ya 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 Diddy ya 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 When I first came to yeshiva, I think when I first came to, everybody's listening here. When I first came to yeshiva, I was before bar mitzvah from Pittsburgh. I came to yeshiva, Why do you come to Shiva? To become a Chassidish Bacher. To be a Chassidish Bacher, huh?
I learned in Pittsburgh.
You learned?
In Pittsburgh.
You learned in Pittsburgh. And actually, this was before there was when I in Pittsburgh, the yeshiva was until 8th grade. So this Shivim was sublime in Pittsburgh. I had to come.
Here's a picture of your father in the lobby in the front.
Basically,
Your father, right?
So, why do you come to Shiva? You come to Shiva to become a Chassidish Bacher. When you're 13 years old, how do you become a Chassidish Bacher when you're 13 years old? When you're 13 years old, to become a Chassidish Bacher is very easy. Very easy. You know how you become a Chassidish Bacher? You imitate the Chassidish Bacher. You do what they do. I don't remember exactly what the shtusim, what in those days were. There's one thing though that the Chassidish Bacher did. Was versteht sich, I wanted to also should do. But my parents were finished. There was nothing to discuss. It was just. And everybody's going to ask me, well, what was it? So it's not negay b'chalal to the story. When I want to telling you this story, it's not negay. Alamai, so why not telling? But if this was off, I would tell you. But I don't know who's watching, and it could be chanikas chatzenim. So it's like not negay. Negay. I wanted to do it. My parents said no. Huh? I also want to hear the story. So I had a chaver. So he gave me a eitzah. He said, you know what, Yisrael, why don't you write to the Rebbe and ask the Rebbe? The Rebbe will certainly say you should do it. Your parents won't be able to do anything. When the Rebbe said do it, you have to do it. I mean, you'll do it. I mean, they're not going to go against it. So I wrote to the Rebbe. And the Rebbe answered like this. Im betekef yachlet. And betekef underlined. Im betekef yachlet. And then the Rebbe gave me a Tanai. And the Tanai was a very hard Tanai. You do azeh and azeh. Then, Yasekein Vashem Etzlicha. It's done. And the Rebbe should have Matzliach. I had an answer. I went running to the telephone to make a long distance call, collect to Pittsburgh, which in those days was a dover, not a dover arugly. It only distance was only for emergencies, like you needed money or something. But anyways, I made a call. My parents come on the line. The Rebbe said I should do it. Still. Then my mother says, "What? Punkt, was hat der Rebbe gesagt? What did the Rebbe exactly say?" So I said over him, take it, Yasekein Hashem Etzlicha. So my mother says to me, Zog der Memes, are you really going to promise the Rebbe that you're going to do that? You're really going to promise the Rebbe to do that and really take do it? To fool your friends, it's not a big deal. To fool your melamdim, it's a little bit more of a challenge, but it's a chayitza. But your mother, when your father's on the line, it doesn't go. So Yisrael Deren, the very articulate, eloquent speaker, began, that was it, and then finished, and that was it. Sadur Chadashim. I wanted. But, and then it came time for me to go into Yechidus. In those days, you went into Yechidus before your birthday. My 14th birthday. This is going to be the first time in Yechidus by myself. I was several times in Yechidus, but with my parents, my family, even by my mitzvah, my parents. But this first time Yechidus. And I decided I'll ask the Rebbe what to do. And that's what I asked the Rebbe. Or not. And that was, the Rebbe took the settle. And the Rebbe had the settle. And the Rebbe was reading it, looking down, read it said like to the bottom of the page, one page. And while the Rebbe was looking down on the zettel, and the Rebbe said, looking down, he says, I answered you already. Was ist tanzen nicht? Are you going to do it or not? And I was like, noch einmal. Even taking the accolade, they gave me a Tanai, and now the Rebbe said to me, ich hatte schon gesagt, as this is done, good, and nicht. Was fragst du mir noch einmal? What are you asking me again for? I already answered you 7 months ago. And the Deren didn't say 7 months ago. The Rebbe said, ich hatte schon geantwortet. And ich hatte verstanden, as first of all, the Paradim didn't realize that the Rebbe knows who he is. Okay? Secondly, that the Rebbe 7 months ago answered me, and the Rebbe remembers what he answered me 7 months ago, and like a Pella was nicht gedenklich, what the Rebbe answered. Okay? Ich hatte dort gestanden wie a Gelem. I was frozen. First of all, and the Rebbe's waiting for an answer. The Rebbe's looking, and he's waiting I should answer him. And I just to talk to the Rebbe was like, I remember one time, this is Yoren Speter, I was like on Shlichus already many years, and it was like, yeah, I was in Russia, the whole thing, and then I was arrested, and then I wanted to go the next day. I wanted I should go again a second year. The year after I was arrested, they wanted I should go again to Russia, and I asked the Rebbe, and it was like such a pella. It was the middle of davening. It was by davening, and the Rebbe looks up to me. The Rebbe used to come then, in those days, the Rebbe would come in. Shachs, the Rebbe didn't daven with the Elam. The Rebbe, just Monday and Thursday, the Rebbe would come for Kriya. Shachs, the Rebbe would come just for Kriya, and the Rebbe would stay until, if he was saying Kaddish, the Rebbe stayed to the last Kaddish. If not, the Rebbe would stay. That's till after they take their back after Asher V'Tziyah. And I think it was middle Asher. I don't remember exactly where it was, but like the Rebbe looked up, and I was standing nearby. I mean, the Rebbe was standing near the door of the Zal, and the Rebbe looked at me, and he said, "Wo halt me? Wo halt me?" It was like such a, and I couldn't answer. I couldn't answer. I just holding my siddur, and I pointed to this where they were holding. I never understood what happened there, but the notion I should tell the Rebbe to talk to the Rebbe was not beginning. And here the Rebbe is like, and this was when I was in those days. Okay, not beginning to talk to the Rebbe. And here the Rebbe is, I'm standing. What should I say? And the Rebbe is looking, and he's waiting for me to answer. He's like looking, and I said, it's a stonzanish. And I've said like for 2 hours. Maybe it was 10 seconds, but I felt like 2 hours. And finally, as I looked my Lester Keches, I nodded my head, like, yes, maybe 2 centimeters. I moved my head. I was looking down, and I moved my head like 2 centimeters. And as soon as I did that, the Rebbe looked up, and I don't remember if it was a smile, but it was like with a aufgelegt upon him. Like, you know. The Rebbe looked at me and he said, "Du wirst gedenken, du hast mir zugesagt, wirst du sicher kennen es folgen. If you remember that you promised me, wirst du sicher kennen es."
What was the one?
Du wirst gedenken, if you'll remember, du hast mir zugesagt that you promised me, wirst du kennen es. You'll certainly be able to do it, because you just promised me. How much I was in shock before, now it became like 10 times as much. The Rebbe is making a asik with me. This schmeckel 14-year-old will come with like he's come wearing long pants, and the Rebbe is making a asik with him. We're like a shutvis here. Du es gedenken und ich will schon sehen, du es schon kein folgen. Like, your job is to remember, and I'll make sure that you do it. Aber gedenken an du es mir zugesagt. I was like, I have no recollection whatsoever what happened after that. I knew that eventually I was out of the room, but I was like it's like at that minute, that Chiddush, like I began to begin. I didn't say it didn't, but I began to understand what's pshat a chosid. A chosid is not pshat somebody was gelebt in Rebbe. If to gelebt in Rebbe, you don't have to be a chosid. To gelebt in Rebbe, a bid b'snish kasheta v'shuta, you believe in the Rebbe. I mean, it doesn't have to be a chosid. What pshat a chosid? A chosid pshat. Du verstehst, at the Rebbe gelebt in dir. And you'll act on that. We're by Tuesday, we're out of here. By Tuesday. And the Rebbe says, du wirst nur gedenken, du hast mir zugesagt. Which that's what we did by Matan Torah. We said, Nasa v'nishma. Nasa. Zugesagt. Just remember, du hast zugesagt, du hast mir zugesagt, es sicher kennen es folgen. Taka ba'avedas atzmei. You'll have to do it. You'll have to do it. I'm telling you, as there I'm coming with grine verem, it's not pshat, it's easy, but you'll be able to do it. You'll be able to do it, and we'll talk to do it. Aber adu vesnar gedenken. We have to remember. We have to. Every one of us, jeder eine von uns haben zugesagt. You too. We all promised. And that promise is our biggest ammunition, because that gives us the kayach that can do it. Because halt not on af and klamke. There says, hold on to the door handle. To the door handle. What's a door handle? Why some klamke on the door handle? Okay, on the Rebbe's klamke, on the Rebbe's door handle. On the Rebbe's gartel, the Rebbe's talis, the Rebbe's sitzes, the Rebbe's klamke. You know what pshat you're holding on to the Rebbe's klamke? You're holding on to the Rebbe's door handle. Pshat, you know that you could go into the Rebbe. You know that you have a shaykhs to the Rebbe. The Rebbe's gartel, you're lucky. You're near the gartel. Klamke, you know that you can open the door and go. But to open the door, you have to open the door. To open the door, you have to look. So it's taka true. You know the door. And we have the door. And we know where we can go. And we know what we can open. But we have to take it open. So the Rebbe shtar from shtak Rebbe. Chai. Tira, la da, la da, la da, la da, la da, ya, la da, la da, la da, la da, da 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 da, la da, ya, la da, la da, la da, la da, da, la da, ya, la la, ya, la la, ya, la da, ya, la la, ya, la la. La 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 ya la 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 Ya la la ya la la ya la la ya la ya la la da 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 ya As a hasty ego, right? We zullen zich treffen naar vrijdag is genoemd te zijn.
Amen. Amen. Okay, it's nice and Merkava.
How are you?
Rabbi.
It just came in. Yeah. This is the second Farbrengen for tonight. What? Chaim, thank you for watching. I hope you'll enjoy it. Okay, and this.